Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of Back to Real Art series. In this series we are ditching the AI and going back to the pure Photoshop magic, just like the old days when it was all about hands-on creativity. And in this episode I'm going to pick a design one of my friends sent me into Instagram. I will give it a quick critique, what's wrong and what's right, and then rebuild it from scratch to show you the whole process. So without any further ado, let's dig into business. Hello guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Noor and this is NourArt channel. Alright, quick disclaimer, I'm not against AI, I'm using it every day into my work. It makes my workflow very efficient. The market is very dynamic and you should use all the tools that you have to make the work efficiently. But here in these episodes, I'm trying to practice the foundations. I'm trying to mix images together manually, because if you can't do that manually, you will not be able to get great results from AI. Okay, that's it, and let's get to the video. So here's the design my friend sent me and asked me to give it a critique, what's wrong and what's right. So the main thing here, and it's very obvious, is the composition. Arranging the elements is not the best. The message is not clear. All the components are fighting towards each other. I like the idea, I like this shadow effect, but here the shadow is not accurate and it's very sharp. There is no sense of sizes. The man and the camel are very big, and I guess to make the story interesting, we have to make this skull huge. Another thing, the color tone of the design is very yellowish and orangey. There is no color harmony right here, and this doesn't give it interest. Okay? So let me show you how I corrected all these mistakes. So here's my version. He already sent me the stock images. I tried to put in like a draft for the design and search it for some color references, something like this, with blue in the sky and brownish reddish colors into the dust. Here is another example. I like the idea of this big moon with atmospheric mountains in the background, and in the foreground we have this brownish reddish colors into the shadows. Here is another example, a very huge sky with blue color, brown colors into the shadows. Another one here. I really like the color palette of this movie. So yeah, let's try to make something better. By the way guys, I tried to make another version of this one with a really different color palette, which I think it's not bad, but this was just playing around with color. I'm showing you that because I want you to not only stick to the tutorial, I want you to be a problem solver. I want you to try new things, to put your touch. Everyone has his own favorite color combinations, so try to put them into the design, and of course you should search for the reference first and try to apply it into your design. Enough talking, and let's get to the Photoshop. So let's create a new project with 4000 pixels in the width and 2250 into the height. This is the full HD size, and then press create. And as usual, I like to start with the sky firstly. So let's pick this sky. You will find all the images that I'm using into the link in the description so that you can follow along with me. So I will distort the image of the sky to give it some depth by clicking right click and pressing distort, and I will press Alt and Shift and press into this point. That's because I want to distort the sky like this, and you may ask me why. I'll show you in a minute. So let's give it like depth like this, and then right click, press into this scale and press Shift to make it like this, then press Shift to make it bigger. What I'm trying to do now is to give it interest and depth, because I want the vanishing point lines to be like towards the middle. Okay, so let me show you the difference between what I've done and between the ordinary scaling. So here is the image. I could have just make it like this, and it may work like this, but as you can see right now, there is no depth into the sky. It's kind of flat. but like this, it's having this depth. Subtle touch, but I guess this is better. Okay, so something like this is perfect. Now let's put the main colors of the sky, and I will do this using curves. Let's bring the curves adjustment layer, create a clipping mask, and let's make the sky brighter by brightening the shadows. And at the same time, I guess we can also shift its colors a bit. So let's create a hue saturation adjustment layer and create a clipping mask, and let's desaturate the colors and maybe make it brighter, maybe shift the colors towards more of cyanish. Let's see. Okay, so something like this. There is before, here is after. Very nice. Now let's just create a mask right here, and with a soft rounded brush, make it bigger, and I'll just fade the edge like this. Perfect. Let's create a solid color into the background. Press OK, put it behind everything, and let's choose like a very light color from the sky, so something like this is good. Very nice. Now let's get to the next element, which is the mountains. So let's bring these atmospheric mountains, put them here. Let's be organized and put everything into a group. This is the sky. And for these mountains, I'll just select the sky using select sky option from here, and then press Alt and press into this mask. It will just create a mask of the mountains. Perfect. And we can also select this area using the selection tool and just press Alt backspace to fill the mask with black, and boom, it's now selected. So this is the main image of the mountains. Before correcting its colors, I guess we should put the ground layer first. So we can choose for this, I guess we can choose this one. Yeah, this is good. So let's bring it here and let's make it bigger. And maybe we can make the horizon line down a little bit. This line is called the horizon line of the image. When I'm making the image like this smaller, I'm just lowering this horizon line because I want to match this horizon line to the horizon line of the mountains. So let's create a mask, and using the selection tool, I'm just create selection right here and press Alt backspace. Perfect. So I guess this is a good point for our horizon line. Something like this. Very nice. We should get rid of these rocks into the foreground, so I will just create a new layer, and using the clone stamp tool, I'll just pick a source from here and clone it. Let's choose the soft rounded brush to blend it seamlessly. That's very nice. Let's see. Very nice. Now let's care about correcting the colors. So I will just put these two layers into a smart object, right click, convert them into a smart object, this one, and let's put the mountains above this to put it right here. And I'll put this into a group, let's name it right mountains. I want to be organized here because when we have a lot of layers, this is going to be a mess. So this is the ground. Perfect. Now let's care about blending these mountains and these rocks. So firstly, I want to think about the color grading that I want to put into the design. The sky should be very blue, and this will cast atmosphere color into the very far away mountains like this. So let's start by correcting its colors. I'm going to firstly create curves adjustment layer to fade the shadows a little bit, so something like this. And then let's create a color balance adjustment layer, or we can even do this using curves, but I don't want to make it complicated for you. Just use the color balance, and for this I'll just give it a touch of blue and touch of cyan. Why? Because I want to get the color tone from the sky. This gives it atmosphere, and this makes it look far away. So let's see, let's give this tone into the shadows as well. This is too much. Yeah, perfect. Let's see, here is before and here is after. Now it looks very far away. I guess we should make this brighter. So something like this is... Now we can care about the ground layer. So for the ground layer, let's start with correcting the lightness, because these areas, the far away areas, should be bright, and these closer areas should be dark and contrasty. So let's start by fading away out the far away areas here, and at the same time let's give it some blue touch using the curves. So I'm going to choose the blue from here, giving it a touch of blue. Don't forget to create a clipping mask. And let's go to the greens as well, giving it a touch of green. And for the reds channel, I'm going to give it a touch of cyan. So here's before and here's after. This is the far areas should have this color. So let's make the brush soft and let's paint over here. You see that? Now we are talking. These areas is now blended in a better way. But let's decrease the flow of the brush and let's just fade it like this. Perfect. So the theory is the further you go in distance, the less contrasty the elements should and less saturated, and it get color from the source of light, which is mainly here the sky colors. And at the known times, you should have atmosphere effect with the blue color that is coming from the sky. This is the theory, and you can apply it into any design. Very cool. Now let's duplicate these mountains by pressing Ctrl J, and let's name this Lift Mountains, because I'm going to duplicate it and put it into the lift. So Ctrl T, right click, flip horizontal, and let's just put it right here. That's perfect. Maybe we can make it bigger, so like this, because I don't want it to look like it's a complete duplicate. And maybe we can change its height, so this should be like a lower bit. That's cool. Very nice. Now let's bring layers of the mountains until we get to the foreground. This add depth into the design, because if I'm having this layer of the mountains and I'm having another layer here, another layer here, that makes like a leading road like this, this gives interest to the story of the design. So let's make this using another image. Quick pause. If you are interested in creating amazing visuals like these step by step using photo manipulation, my course, The Ultimate Guide to Photo Manipulation, is now released, and you can find it in the link in the description. In this course, we started with the basics of marketing and branding and the visual communication, because, you know, as visualizers or graphic designers, we are delivering messages through images. So you need to understand the basic concepts, the principles of graphic design, the fundamentals of composition. And then we have talked about photo manipulation with 13 detailed projects explained, fully narrated. And then I teach you how to use different AI tools in your designs to make your workflow faster and more efficient. The link is in the description, and let's get back to the video. So let's bring this image and we will blend it the same way, but we will decrease the effect of the atmosphere. Let's put it above everything. So let's press Ctrl T, make it smaller, and then go to select and sky. Select the sky and press into Alt and press into the mask to select these mountains. Now we want to remove some parts like this here, and let's press shift and add this as well, and then press control backspace to fill it with black. So let's put this maybe right here, I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe right here, and we can even remove this area using the soft rounded brush. Let's increase the flow. I'm going to get rid of this part. Let's make the brush smaller, and let's fade this edge. I guess this as well. That's very nice. I guess that's good. Let's make this a little bit bigger, maybe. Something like this. And now let's care about correcting its colors. Obviously, it has a lot of reds, and we should get rid of this red. So let's put it into a group, and let's name this second mountain left. And then create curves adjustment layer, and let's make it brighter. Create a clipping mask. I want this to be more contrasty than this, so we should take care of that. Let's increase its contrast like this, and let's create a color balance to give it the blue touch. This should have less blue and more contrast. Let's give it cyan, green, blue, and let's go to the shadows, give it cyan, blue, and touch of green. Let's see, it's not bad, but I guess there is a lot of cyan right here. Let's go to the highlights. Yeah, this is good, I guess. But let's get back to the curves again to make it more crisp. And one thing I like to do is to put like atmosphere layer behind this one, but before that we have like a 1 pixel bright 1 pixel here. So let's get rid of this 1 pixel by going to by selecting the mask, going to filter, other, and minimum, and let's make this something like, I'm not sure, 0.5 I guess, or 0.6, 0.8, yeah, press OK. That's better. Now let's bring this fog layer to put between the two mountains. So let's put it behind this mountain, change its blending mode into screen, and let's try to put it right here. It gives like depth and atmosphere effect. Let's change its color by pressing Ctrl L. I mean its contrast, sorry, and try to make it more subtle like this. So here's before, here's after, and we can even press Ctrl U and give it a touch of like dusty color, desaturated one. So something like this, I guess. Before and after. Very nice. Now let's create a copy from this one and duplicate it into the right side. So press Ctrl J and let's name this right. Press Ctrl T, right click, flip horizontal, and we should make some changes to it because we don't want it to be like a complete duplicate. Okay, so I guess we can put it right here, and we can get rid of some parts using the brush. So let's use this brush and let's just paint over here. By the way, I'm going to leave all the brushes I'm using for free into the link in the description. Yeah, thank me later. This is a huge pack of brushes I'm always using, so I'm giving it for you for free to use. So let's see. Yeah, it's not bad, but maybe we can just get rid of this part. Yeah, I guess this is not bad. Let's duplicate this fog layer by pressing Alt, and let's put this into the right mountains layer here. Let's press Ctrl T and right click, flip it horizontal, and let's put it somewhere here. That's very nice. I don't like this duplication. We can change it later if we don't like it. But for now, let's just build the visual step by step, okay? So let's go to the next element, which should be the main element, the skull and the guy with the camel. So let's start with the mountains behind the skull. So for this, I'm having this image with high contrast to put into the foreground or into the midground, actually. So let's just press Ctrl to make it a little bit smaller, select sky, and then press Alt and mask to mask it. Then press Ctrl T, right click, flip horizontal to put it right here, because this is the area where we should have our skull. So somewhere right here is good. Now we have to delete all of that, so I'm going to do that using the same brush, or we can do this using the quick selection tool. Yeah, this is easier because there's too much contrast into the light and color, so it's easy to select it. So something like this. Let's then press Alt backspace. Very nice. Now we can try to fade it using the soft rounded brush with low flow. We can just fade this away like this. Don't worry about the color and the lightness correction. We will do this right now. That's very nice. Let's get rid of this rock as well. Just like this. And with a soft rounded brush, I'm going to fade this edge. Yeah, this looks perfect. Very nice. Let's press Ctrl T and let's make this bigger. I don't like the color of this rock, so maybe let's select it, and I'm not sure what to do with it. Let's just make it smaller and see. Maybe we can just put it like this. I'm not sure. I'll leave it to the end. Okay, and that's normal, guys. It's not a one-time process. You always go back and forth until you are satisfied. Okay, so here I'm going to bring the skull, and let's put it right here. Let's make it smaller. I'm going to select the blacks, so let's use just the magic wand tool, and using the quick selection tool, I'm just going to add this to the selection, and then press Alt and press into the mask. Let's put this into a group and let's name it skull. And there's some edges, black dark edges. We should get rid of them. Press Ctrl T and let's make it smaller to put it into a proper position. So somewhere right here. You know the rules of composition, guys. The rule of third. It is a composition rule in which you structure your composition like a grid of 3 by 3, and the main focal points should be here. So here I should put the main skull, and here I'm going to put the camel and the man. This gives interest to the main focal points, and at the same time it gives it tells us the relationship between the main focal points and the surrounding. Alright, for now let's care about correcting the lightness and the colors of these mountains. So let's put them and name them third mountains. And let's put them into a group, create a curves adjustment layer, create a clipping mask, and let's just hide this for a while. And let's try to blend this into the scene. Let's firstly make the highlights, I guess, brighter, the shadows brighter as well, not very faded. I want it to be somehow contrasty. Let's go to the next point, which is decreasing its saturation because it's very saturated. So create a hue saturation, create a clipping mask, and let's decrease its saturation, maybe shifting its colors towards, I don't know, let's see. No, this is not looking nice, so let's just decrease its saturation. Let's go to adjustment, create curves adjustment layer, and let's give it some blue touch with some green and some cyan. Yeah, this is nice. Let's see, not bad. Let's go to the shadows, add some blues as well with some greens and some cyans. And here's before, here is after. Yeah, this is good. By the way, guys, I don't like how these mountains look, and I can't bear it anymore. So let's just create a new layer, create a clipping mask, and let's have a solution for this. Maybe we can pick a color from here and use like any fog brush to create like atmosphere dust effect here using a low flow brush, something like this. Let's make the brush bigger. Yeah, just giving it some dust touches because it's not blended and I don't like how it looks. And at the same time, its colors should be shifted more to, I guess, blues. So let's give it some blue. Let's see, more blue. This is better, I guess. Let's go to the highlights and give it more blue color with some green. Not bad. Let's get back to this color and let's give it some touches like this. Yeah, this is not bad. Let's just duplicate these two, the atmosphere effect layer. Let's duplicate it and put it right into the left one. So press Alt and drag it and put it into the left one. Let's put it right here. Maybe right click, go flip it horizontal and put it here. This is not bad. And I guess we need to make this bigger, so something like this. This is not bad for now. So let's get back our skull. Before we go to this point, I guess we should give these highlights some reddish orangey colors. So something like this, yeah. Let's get to the skull. And for this skull, I will start by blending these edges. So let's use this brush. It's called oil pastel brush, and I will change its shape like this and maybe make it somehow bigger. And let's increase the flow. And using this brush, I'm going to just try to blend it into the dust. It should look like it's going inside the dust itself. So something like this, I guess, and it will be blended more when we put the shadows. It's not bad. And secondly, I want to get rid of these harsh highlights. What do you think? Let's leave it for now, but I guess we will do this later. So first of all, I want to get rid of this very yellowish color. So create a hue saturation. I know this is a very tricky design, guys, and it was very tricky for me to adjust its colors, but you know, you have to challenge your skills from time to time. Okay, we should get rid of this yellow, and let's go to the adjustments using curves. I guess we should make this darker, so let's give it a touch like this. We will draw the highlights later. And then let's create color balance, give it some red, some maybe magenta, and some touch of blue. Let's go to the shadows, do the same thing, red and blue, and I guess this time I'm going to give it some greens. So here's before and here's after. Now it's time to draw the shadows, but firstly we should draw the lights. So the light of the sun, I'm supposing that the sun is somewhere here, and it's hitting its lights like this, and it's creating some shadows. So I should paint some lights here and should paint some shadows right here. So let's start by creating the light effect itself, and I'm going to do this by curves adjustment layer like this. Maybe we can add some reds and some greens and some yellows. Yeah, then press Ctrl I, and using the soft rounded brush maybe, or this oil pastel, I'm not sure. Let's see. Let's just paint the lights. Right click with the soft rounded brush. I'm going to just paint. This should be the sunlights, okay? Right here, everywhere. Of course, it should not go to the skull, so something like this. So this is the lights of the sun, and we should paint some shadows, okay? But let's just decrease the opacity of this layer. So how can we paint the shadows? We will just create a new solid color adjustment layer, press OK, and change its blending mode into multiply. Let's change the color to something from the shadows, something like this, maybe, and let's unhide it, and we can change the color later. Press Ctrl I, and using this oil pastel brush, just going to change its shape and make it bigger like this. So I'm supposing the mountain is hitting the sun is hitting the mountain, and it's casting a shadow, so something like this, okay? And maybe we can leave some areas without this shadow. I'm leaving this area because I want to put our man and camel into it. I want to give it contrast. Let's change the color because it's very saturated, so let's make it something dark brownish, so something like this. And maybe we can paint some shadows over here or all over this area, and just make this, all of this area into the shadows. It's nice. Let's move it a little bit. All right, so let's paint the shadows of the skull. I'll do that using also a solid color adjustment layer. Press OK, and let's put it into the skull group. Let's rename, change its blending mode into multiply, and let's change its color, so something very dark like this. Press Ctrl I and let's zoom in. I'm going to use here the soft rounded brush, and I'm going to change its orientation, its shape, change the flow, decrease the flow, and let's just paint here. I'm painting firstly the contact shadow, which is the shadow that is resulting from the contact between two surfaces. So each point of contact with the ground should be very dark and the other areas should be brighter. Firstly, I'm putting the contact shadow, and then we can decrease the flow of the brush, make it a little bit bigger, and just put the shadow like this. This is the cast shadow, and it's kinda in the shadow of the mountains. It's not directly hit from the sun, so it's kinda soft shadows. But this is not bad. We should also paint some shadows into the skull itself. I'm going to do this using curves, so I'm just decreasing its lightness, and let's change this into luminosity because I don't want to affect into the saturation or the color. So yeah, press Ctrl I to invert the mask, and using the same soft rounded brush, maybe I'll make it bigger. I'm going to just paint some soft shadows over these areas. And maybe I can just create a new layer without any blending mode. Just pick some color from the shadows right here and just paint some shadows over these areas, and then I can get rid of the color from the highlights using blend F. So something like this. Then double click and remove the colors from the highlights. So something like this. This is not working, so I just mask it manually. So let's decrease the flow of the brush, make it like this. It's not bad. Maybe we can decrease the opacity. Let's see. Yeah, this is very nice. We can enhance this intersection between the skull and the ground with some middle ground texture or layer. So we can use this image and we can get this intersection. So let's pick this image, put it right here. Let's make it bigger because we don't want all of the image. I just want this bottom part. So let's create a mask, press Ctrl I to invert the mask, and now I'm going to just reveal some parts using any brush. I'm just going to reveal these parts. So this intersection is going to be nice. Of course, we will correct the colors and the lightness somewhere here. So this is nice. Let's try to change its color by pressing Ctrl M because I don't want to have a lot of layers actually, and using these curves I'm going to make it. And we can also change its colors. Let's see. Yeah, give it more magenta and maybe some blue. Let's see. No, some yellows. It's very nice before and after. It's now blended in a good way. Now it's time to just blend it with the surrounding area. So maybe we can get this, all the bushes. No, we can't. So let's choose this brush and let's choose decrease the flow of the brush, and let's just erase it from here, and let's decrease the flow of the brush and try to blend it with the surrounding. This is nice. To blend it even better, I guess we can bring some other elements, like maybe these bushes and this tree. So let's put it right here, and these bushes as well. Let's make them smaller and put them here. And let's select this. So using the select and color range, I'm going to select it with sample color, the highlights. Press OK, and then press Alt, create a mask. Let's put it maybe somewhere here. Yeah, and use it by pressing Ctrl M. I'm going to blend it the same way, like this, using the channels, the curves. It's very nice. Darker. And let's bring these bushes, and let's do the same thing. But firstly, let's just mask some areas from here using this same brush, and then press Ctrl M and make it darker, change its color towards more of reddish, and perfect. Now I guess it looks better. Enough working into the skull. Yeah, we forgotten the highlights, of course. So let's paint the highlights. I will start by painting the main source of light, which is the sunlight beams. And I'm going to choose a reddish yellowish color, desaturated one, so something like this, and change its blending mode into screen. And then press Ctrl I, and there is a brush, very special brush actually, called beam brush. As I've already told you, all the brushes that I am using right now will be into the description so that you can follow along with me. So let's increase the flow of the brush, and let's make this very big. And let's just give it one touch like this. Very nice. And let's make it bigger. So now we have a beam of light coming out from the sky. Something like this. And then we can draw some highlights into the skull. And I'll do this using maybe a new solid color or maybe curves. I guess curves gives it just texture, good texture into the highlights. So I'll just bring the highlights like this, and let's put it above the skull, create clipping mask, and press Ctrl I, and let's use any texture brush to do this, the same oil and pastel one. Let's decrease the flow of the brush to like 60% because I want it to have like rough texture. So something like this would be good. These highlights are not intense, so let's just make it brighter, and maybe we can give it a touch of yellow. This is very yellowish, and some red. So let's paint our highlights. Should have some texture because this is a rugged surface, rough surface. So yeah, is nice. I guess we should have like layers of highlights. It will not be like one layer. I'm not sure if I should make this speed art, these sections, or you like to see it in real time. Let me know in the comments, guys. Yeah, this is very nice. Yeah, let's see. Before, after. We can have like some glow effects in some areas. And we will do this by creating a new layer and get like a soft rounded brush. I will make it big and let's choose like very bright color. Change the layer blending mode into screen and let's make this brush change the flow to something like 30 or something. Make one touch, make it smaller, smaller, and smaller. Make it. This makes like very intense highlights. Maybe we can duplicate it and put it right here. Let's decrease the opacity of this one. It's very nice. Decrease the opacity of this one as well. Alright, enough talking about this one. Delete some areas from here. Very nice. We can bring the atmosphere effect foggy layer and put it behind the skull. Let's press Alt and drag the layer and put it here. And let's put it right here. Yeah, this is immediately give it a good touch. Press Ctrl I, right click, flip it horizontally. No, it looks nice. And we can fade it a little bit from the bottom. Yeah, perfect. Now let's care about the man and the camel. So let's bring the camel first and put it here, make it smaller. And let's put it into a separate group. Let's name it Man and Camel. And we can select the camel using like the select subject, I guess. So using the cloud, I'm going to select the camel. Very nice. Let's make a mask. And we can refine some parts like his legs. Let's make him smaller and put it right here. Let's see. Yes, let's make it smaller. And let's bring our character and put it beside the camel. So something like this. I want to give it like a sense of sizes. So I want the skull to be very huge and the man with his camel should be a little bit smaller or tiny, not small. So yeah, this is nice. Now quickly we will fix everything. So we will start with the colors and the lightness. I'll do this by curves. So let's just make him kinda darker and let's fix the colors, give him some red and some blue. We can do the same thing to the camel using curves as well. make him darker and change his colors like this. This is very much. This is the first step. Secondly, we're going to paint the shadows. So for the shadows, I'm going to create a new layer and put it behind everything. And I'll just pick the color of these shadows, and using the ordinary hard rounded brush, I'm going to make it like this, and I'm just going to paint the shadows like this. Okay, so let's just decrease the flow of the brush to like 3%, and the shadows should be like this. It should be sharp shadows, not soft ones, and it should follow the shape, roughly follow the shape of the camel, the man. So I guess something like this can work. Let's decrease the flow of the brush, and let's paint like some edges around this shadow. And I guess we can change the blending mode into multiply and see. It's not bad at all, but the shape is not accurate. So let's just make this tighter. So I guess something like this can work, before and after. And then we should draw some shadows into the character and the camel. So we will do this using curves as well. Create a clipping mask, and let's make this darker. And by pressing Ctrl I, using the same oil pastel brush, I'm just going to paint the shadows. So in these areas. So let's create another one for the camel with curves. And I'll change the blending mode into luminosity because I don't want to affect the saturation or the color tone of the camel. So I'm just going to put some shadows right here. Let's decrease the flow of the brush and put some shadows over here. Just imagining the way of the light coming from the top or the bottom, and draw the lights accordingly. Oh, this is good. But I guess this luminosity thing make it bad. So let's get to the main layer and let's try to manipulate. Maybe its opacity, decrease the opacity. Yeah. Not bad. Let's go to the next point, which is the foreground part. In this one, I'm going to put some rocks into the foreground. So I'm going to pick this one and let's select it using the quick selection tool. So I'm just going to select it like this and then create a mask. Let's put it above everything, and I'll put it right here. I guess the edges need some work. So let's just press into the mask and press from the properties, press select and mask, and we can go and shift the edges like this and increase the contrast. Maybe shift the edges more. Press OK. Yeah, this is better. So this should be here. And let's correct its colors. I just press Ctrl M and make it dark. like this because it's in the shadows. And let's change its colors to more of a reddish. Give it some touch of magenta and at the same time some tiny touch of blue. Press OK and let's see. It's not bad. I guess it needs some changing into the orientation or something. Maybe something like this, maybe it should be darker. Let's try it. And maybe we can bring some dry bushes and put it over here. Oh, this is too much. Maybe we can bring this rock, yeah, and put it right here. So let's try to put it somewhere. And let's bring this one into the other side. Flip it horizontal, yeah. This needs more visual weight. The left side needs more visual weight than the right side. So something like this maybe can work. But I guess this should be brighter because it is in the light side. So this shouldn't be like this dark. And it shouldn't have all this magenta. So let's get rid of all of that. That's good. Maybe we can bring this lizard and put it into here. Let's make it smaller. Right click, flip horizontal, and we can put it right here. I guess we can select it with the select subject. Areas, to the selection, and create a mask. Let's press Ctrl M and let's make it darker. Let's make the highlights darker to match the darkness of the rock. Let's give it some reds. Yeah, now we are talking. Very nice. Let's just blend the edges using the same oil pastel brush. I'm going to mask it like this. Increase the flow of the brush. Well, this is good, but it needs some tweaking. And maybe this man and camel should be here. I'm not sure. And we have to paint also some highlights to the man and the camel. So let's start with the man. Press Ctrl I. I know this tutorial is very long, but I don't want to skip anything. I want to give it all to you guys for you to understand the whole process. And you seems to enjoy it, so yeah. So let's do the same thing with the camel. Yeah, that's not bad. I guess we are good, but here we should lower down the horizon line a little bit. So we should select everything and lower it down. That's why I told you guys to be organized, because when you have a lot of layers, it will not be easy to make any edits or any modifications. So let's select everything and let's try to push it a little bit to the ground. So what do you think? Something like this. I want to have more space showing from the sky. So something like this. Let's go to the skull, maybe make it somehow bigger, and the man, maybe this shadow should be like this, and we can change also these mountains. Okay, the shadows here are very dark, so let's just open the shadows a little bit, and at the same time these drawn shadows should not be as dark as this. The same thing to the shadows of the man, not be very dark as this. We can change the shape of this rock. Yeah, I guess this is better. Yeah, let's bring the moon to fill the sky. So we have this picture of the moon, and we can put it right here, change its blending mode into screen, and let's put it maybe somewhere right here. And using a mask with a soft rounded brush, I'm going to fade it out. So something like this. And maybe you can duplicate it and press Ctrl T and make a smaller version of it. Maybe put it anywhere here or there, just to make balance and to make interest into the sky. Now, it's nice. The last thing is I'm going to create a new layer and using a bird brush. So let's just write birds. Yeah, this one is cool. I'm going to change the color of the sky and let's make it darker, something like this. And let's just put a touch. Let's increase the flow of the brush and maybe change the scattering thing, remove it, and let's give it one touch. Perfect. Now we have these birds right here, and I guess we're good to go. So last thing, I'm going to create a new layer, press Alt Ctrl Shift E and right click, convert it into a smart object, and now we can bring our camera roll filter to bring everything together. So from camera roll, I'm going to make some edits. Let's firstly start with the highlights because they are very high. So let's decrease the highlights, but at the same time increase the whites. So these are the absolute highlights, the white. So and then we can maybe decrease the shadows, maybe increase the contrast a little bit. What about the exposure? Let's decrease the exposure and maybe open up the shadows. For the temperature, I guess I can leave it as it is. I like how it looks. And let's go to add some touch of texture, some touch of clarity, and some dehazing, and of course some vignetting effect. Let's increase the feather and increase the roundness, decrease this midpoint, and let's decrease the effect. Something like this is good. Before, after, yeah. And let's give it a touch of grain. Let's go straight to the colors. So let's start with the hues. I'm going to shift the reds towards more of oranges, and the oranges towards more of reds, and the yellows towards more of orange. And let's go to the saturation, maybe play around the saturation of the sky, decrease it a little bit. And for the yellows, let's decrease it. Oranges, decrease it as well. And for the reds, let's go to the luminosity. Let's play around the sky. Maybe we can make it darker like this. And let's see where the oranges. Not bad. For the color grading, I'm going to give the shadows some warm tones, some reddish warm tones. And for the highlights, I'm going to give it some blue, light blue color. That's good. Let's go to the curves, into the highlights. I'm going to add some cyans, and into the shadows some touch of red, not so much. Let's go to the greens, add some greens, some touch of green to the highlights, and for the shadows let's leave it as it is. And for the blues I'm going to add some yellows and some touch of blue into the shadows. Let's get back to the cyans because this cyan is very high. And the shadows has, let's see, before, after, or after. I guess we need to give it some clarity effect, or something like this: before, after, before, and after. Press OK. And yeah, of course it can be better. We can add a lot of things, we can add a lot of tweaks to the colors. This is a never-ending process, guys. As I'm already telling you, you should try this with your own vision, with your own color grading. I know this tutorial is kinda tricky and adjusting the colors is not very easy, but you can do it. And I really want to congratulate you because you have invested all that time to learn something that is useful for you. So guys, let me know in the comments, would you like to repeat this Back to Real Art series in the future or not? And as mentioned, if you want to know more about my course, The Ultimate Guide of Photo Manipulation, you will find it in the link in the description. See you guys in next classes. Peace.